So, what about, I was thinking about the definition of art, because we're talking about how difficult it is to define the beat. And, there's a political dimension to it. You said art or cinema, that you like doesn't necessarily have to be political. Well, what exactly is art? How would you define it?
How would I define art?
That encompasses all these different, cultural experiences you're talking about, everything from Charles Bronson to The Clash.
Well, art is, anything that art is anything that is created that's not necessary. I don't know. I forget who said that. I think it was, I don't know if it was Warhol or who. That's not necessarily true. I mean, it could be things that are very necessary, and it could still be artful. I mean, art's everywhere. Art's in the chair that I'm sitting on, clothes that I wear. But the glasses that I'm wearing right now. But there's a design element to all that. So, for me to say, politics aren't in art. I just, for me, there's just certain things that I like, that I find, entertaining, that I connect with, that maybe are at odds with what I, feel politically and socially and stuff like that. So, and I think Charles Bronson and stuff like that is definitely a good example of that. Sometimes, although I don't really know what his political affiliations were, to be honest with you, but the way his movies are portrayed and the way they come off could certainly be at odds with what I generally think. But there's probably a lot of art that I've liked in the past where maybe the way I interpreted it, on some level, and enjoyed it, and it brought joy into my life, was maybe not what either the artist intended or how everybody perceives it. It's certainly not the case.
Yeah, so you abide by what is it called in literary theory, the reader-response theory, that a text or a document or a piece of music doesn't have an inherent meaning. It depends on how the reader, the listener, or the viewer makes of it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's always the intention of the artist. Maybe not always. I don't even know if that's necessarily the case in a lot of art. Sometimes you're just, you're just channeling something. You have no rhyme or reason for what you're doing. Our friend, one of these previous interviews, our friend Don, was talking about responding to, the death of one of his loved ones, and just, he felt like he had no control over, the pen or the pencil or whatever he was using, or the paintbrush. It was just like some sort of spirit muse, going through him, and his emotions were moving. Not a preconceived notion or a thought that, hey, I'm trying to make a statement here with this piece of art. So yeah, I agree, because no matter how hard you try, it'll never be interpreted the way that you necessarily want, or that you originally desired. And there's nothing you can do about that as an artist. You just have to, accept that, I think. And that's the great thing about art. But essentially, I think for me, and I do consider myself somewhat, of an artist in some respects, be it, music or, drawing and stuff like that. It really, I take a more optimistic view, is that it's something that will bring some sort of joy or release into the viewer or the listener's life. Not all, like I said, not all art will affect you positively, but if it makes you think and it hits you at that gut level, then I think is quite honestly more important than what's hitting you on an intellectual level. Although, art does have that purpose as well, and I think that's very important too. But I think really where art really hits you the deepest is on the emotional level, rather.
So, have you had experience like that? Like the one that Don was describing, where you felt completely consumed, and you just have to, draw something, or just go to your drum kit and start, making that beat.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of any kind of specific. I don't know if I can think of a specific example. Certainly not. Maybe not so much with drawing or something like that, because I do. I used to do that a lot more when I was younger, and for the last couple of years I haven't been doing a lot of like fine arts and stuff. But certainly with music, though, it happens really any time that I do sit down and not even necessarily playing drums, or if I'm just kind of sometimes more so when I'm playing like a guitar or something like that, because that's more of a melodic instrument than drums. But drums, like I said, I mean, sometimes there are times where you're just playing, and you just don't understand where something's coming from. You're like, I've never done that before, I've never done that, and it's just like, it's just spontaneous. It just happens right there, and it's an amazing feeling. I think anybody who's created writing or anything like that, where it's just like, holy shit, I didn't even know I was capable of that. And also with like messing around, like with guitar, and because I certainly don't consider myself a guitar player or anything like that. I mean, I can do a couple of chords here and there, but even just that very basic knowledge and fiddling around with it, there's been a lot of times where I've come up with some things that I'm like, this is pretty fucking good. I could probably sell some records doing this or something like that if I could really clean this up and put a little more structure and stuff like that to this. I mean, this could really be something. And you're not thinking about it. At least I don't. I'm way too fucking lazy and disorganized and candy ass to be like actually writing music and like saying, okay, I want to do this with this song and stuff like that. Which is to my detriment, because this is probably why I've never been in a actual like serious band and made like any sort of like full song or album. But maybe it's because I do think of music almost too much as just more of a gut level, like that primal thing, rather than an intellectual, more structured pursuit. I mean, maybe that's part of it, because the thing about that is, sometimes when you're channeling that muse or that spirit, it's gone like a flash, and that's the downside to it sometimes, unless you're recording, in that moment, which is I think how a lot of musicians do probably some of their best work, some of their most groundbreaking, music is probably just some sort of jam session where they're just, messing around, and all of a sudden just something amazing happened, and okay, we were lucky enough to get that on tape. More so than saying, okay, I sat down for 3 hours and wrote this song and let's do it. Although that's, with I think some of the, the geniuses, I mean, they can do that, your Lennons and Dylans and stuff like that, but that's a lot fewer and farther between. Sometimes you're just lucky.
So you don't see yourself doing music or drums professionally?
I wouldn't say that. I'd love to. And if I were to say like ideally, I'm sure there's like millions and millions of other kids, and they come growing up in the late 20th century. Everybody at some point wants to be some sort of like rock star or something like that, a little bit. So I think I'm too different in that respect, but I think I've probably taken a little further than most people, and so I still have that dream, and I'm getting a little bit older. Sometimes when you start to get in your late 20s and you start like thinking like, I don't know, is time running out? But I don't really worry about it too much. I mean, there's always, you never know when some person that you really connect with on a musical level can come around. I'm still looking for it. That's why I still play. I still I've jammed with my boys from high school for many years, and I would still, at the drop of a hat, you know, would love to jam with. I did it with, you know, my friend Alex yesterday. I mean, we've been playing together for, you know, probably 10 years now, and you know, I hadn't seen him for like a couple of years. You know, met up yesterday, and then, you know, sitting down and just started playing like it was yesterday. You know, and it was awesome.